This week we read Hoarded by the Dragon by Lillian Lark. A thief doing a final job and the dragon caught in a precarious situation that changes both their lives. He's powerful and wealthy, and he hates me, but I have something he wants. It wasn't part of the plan. I'm the thief, stupid enough to break into a dragon's hoard and walk away pregnant with his baby. Yes, you may notice that that is different from what we said we were reading last week.
There's a reason for that.
It is a new year, but we are still us. So, last week we said that we were reading Kingston, and we did start reading it. However, it was a request. It was a book that was sent to us, and unfortunately, it was a book that had something that we have gone on the podcast as being vehemently against a lot. No shade to the author, no shade to who requested it, but it's just not our vibe. And we didn't want to spend a whole episode complaining about a requested book. That being said, there's different books for everyone and everyone loves different things. We are pretty upfront about things that we are not big fans of. This particular instance is that the book was extremely well written until it got to the dialogue. And then the dialogue was written almost phonetically. And Crystal and I have shot books down and rated them super low in the past because of that happening in other books. And we literally just had that a few weeks ago by accident. We're like, we can't do it again. We just can't do it again. The difference between the one a few weeks ago was it was written in third person, so it kind of made it work. This book was written in first person, so it was eloquent in first person until someone spoke, and then it made my brain hurt. Our brains hurt. So unfortunately, that is where we are. We always allow any and all requests, but also please be mindful if it's something that you know for a fact that we're gonna be like about.
Yes, it is not up our alley, and it has a lot of really good ratings on it. And as Ariel said, outside of the dialogue, it was well written. The
I couldn't get
dialogue was
past it. I just
we
couldn't get
had a
past
hard
it.
time with the dialogue.
Tried, but just couldn't get past
And
it.
that is it is just not our vibe, but
Yeah.
it could be other people's vibe, so we read
It's
it.
a stylistic choice, right?
Exactly. And I mean, like I said, like it's got really high ratings, and there's a lot of ratings on that book too, so there was a lot of people who really
I
liked
was
it.
just reading a book in class for a group of elementary school kids, and the book was written as if it was in the eyes of a 10-year-old, but like a
illiterate
a
10-year-old.
disadvantaged 10-year-old.
Oh, I
That's
was
how I want to
mean.
put
I'm
it.
sorry.
No, but
Ugh, I'm gonna get
just
canceled like at least once a week, guys. I'm sorry.
just a 10-year-old that, isn't as educated. And so it's grammar usage and the poor way of speaking was throughout the entire narrative because it was the unreliable narrator concept.
Mhm.
And I hate that. So I would catch myself as I'm reading out loud to these kids fixing it because actually we don't say and me. We would say and I in that situation, actually. Like there are times for both, but in that situation, and I would explain that because they'd call me out on it because they had their own copies. But that's not what it says. Well, let me fix that for you.
Yeah.
And I would explain the whole thing. But that's a me problem. That's a Crystal problem. But it's a stylistic choice, and
It's just
that's
not
what we're
our
here for.
style. Like that's not our. But we
So
do like to push our boundaries a lot, and
mhm.
we've said that, and
We've tried
we
it.
tried.
We've tried many times. It's just we've tried too much this year, and I just couldn't do it again. Anyways, so instead, in place of that apparently I have talked about this series that I've been reading a little too much, and I flew a little too close to the sun because
She
Crystal told
bullied
me
me.
to shut the fuck up and just read the next book that I had downloaded. So, yes, this week we read Hoarded by the Dragon by Lillian Lark, and
I
it is the
don't
third
think
book
I
in
don't
the
think I said
series.
shut the fuck up. I said, "All right, stop
I'm
talking. We're just reading it."
same concept, really.
I know, but
Same concept.
not the harsh words. I think I
I
was
actually
about
would not have been surprised if you had said shut the fuck up.
I
Really?
think that if you kept talking about, oh well maybe we can do this book instead, I would have been like, Ariel, just shut the fuck up. We're gonna
Uh,
do the book that you want to read. Because she did. She tried to be like, well, if you don't want to do that one, we can do this other thing. And I'm like, dude,
we
you
could spin the
continuously
wheel again. So many
the
options.
first time we had run into this, you're like, oh, I wish that I could just read this book instead of reading the book we have to read. And then that's what ended up happening anyways.
So listen, this book, okay, this series started with a group of gargoyles, okay? And I was naturally hooked because we had been burned by a gargoyle book in the past. Burned I was not, I tell you. It was nice,
Burned, I
okay?
was not.
Burned I was not. And the next book in the series was about two basilisk. That was also nice. Not as quite as nice as the gargoyles, but I was intrigued to go down this dragon journey. And down this dragon journey we went. Yes, we did.
The dedication, though. To all the badasses who became badasses with babies and who read books, where the guy has two cocks, I see you.
That
I
being
see
said,
us too.
there is a content warning that includes accidental pregnancy, debilitating pregnancy symptoms, struggles with self-worth, birth, pregnancy health scare, past loss of child and mate mentioned, and minor body negativity by side character. And as promised, the MMC has two dicks and not in the
Two dicks, please get the fuck out of here. He does not belong on this podcast.
um
Unless we're
um
in it's a chapstick way, okay?
I just think of
Um,
it lovingly in you and now
I've
it's just a
literally
two
never
please.
had, I've never had two, please.
I know, but now today we can talk
I was
about
gonna
two
make
please.
if I wanted to. It's a curiosity. If it happens, Ariel will be the first one to know.
Is that your next adventure?
I don't know. It's been
Is
offered to me before. Years
solid.
ago, though. Years ago by people I don't know. Um,
I think you should videotape this for science. Just kidding.
for science,
For
and then I'll
science.
send it to you.
For science.
Ariel, science. Just pretend for a minute. I was gonna say something else, and I don't. Oh, so I also am not normally one to read books with pregnancy in it, and it's not
Okay, that
a
is the journey I was going to go down next. I know that a lot of people hesitate about that. I honestly don't. And I don't
I don't know
know.
why I don't
I
like it.
understand the stigma around it because they want a child to be wanted. Want a child to come into a situation, you know, in a stable environment and not have a child be the source of the pull. And I get that. But I also want to remind people that these are books. This is fantasy. This is make believe. And as someone who did have an accidental pregnancy, sometimes it's nice to read about a dragon coming in to save the day and taking care of you. Thank you.
Yeah. Mine is not even that problem. So, okay. So I have two things with the pregnancy trope. One, I've discussed this in the past with my originally struggling with the reverse harem situation, which is I can barely keep one sim alive and
Oh,
focus on one. So when you keep adding more things in, I feel like in The Sims, I don't even like having babies because then that's just more I have to take care of and I have to listen, it's a whole thing. I didn't even like the animals when they came in because I was like, fuck, now I got to do that. Who allowed me to be a parent? I don't know. So like with that. And then the only other pregnancy thing I have a hard time with is the It's not involved in it is the mpreg thing, and it's still because I
Oh,
still don't know where
because
the babies come out.
it's, I think
That's it. I don't care about if the dude gets pregnant. I want to know where the baby
I
comes
don't
out, and I still don't
necessarily,
understand.
I don't necessarily have an issue with that. I think it just is under this whole shifter umbrella that is such a, it depends on the world and it depends on the writer and it depends on this because everything to do with this whole shifter fantasy changes depending on the author,
I know. I
whether
just want to know
that's
if it's a butt
mating,
baby.
whether that's nodding, whether that's mpreg, but it's different every time, is what I'm saying.
So
All
I've
of these
actually,
rules are different
yeah, I've
depending,
gotten better about the nodding thing because that was weird for me at first, and now I'm
which
like, all right, gimme, let's go, and like slick
which if
all
you're
that shit.
more
I'm into
intrigued,
it. We're fine.
in September we're going to be doing our specials shifter September. So we're going to do a little more of a deep dive into this
Yeah.
in case you're interested.
But anyways, that's my only thing with the pregnancy thing. And it's not that I am so against. I typically avoid it. And I think it's simply because my brain has a hard time enough trying to like wrap more people into a story because then I'm starting to track like I just brain needs to focus on one thing. So I always just compare it to playing The Sims. I can only do one. I can't do a family. I don't know. Anyways, we
We
can
can only do what we
continue.
can do.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
barely survive every day.
Anyways, so yes, we did swerve and change courses this week. So I'm sorry if you're sad about that. I'm not sad about that, but here we are. We are where we are.
Like a raging river. We changed courses. I had to like try to sing lyrics in my head. It's a coursing river, but whatever. I wanted to go raging. Listen with all the force of a great typhoon. This is
And
not
with
Mulan.
that, no, it is not. With that,
Though
our
there is a
book,
dragon.
yes, yes, there is. And I do find it funny. We'll get to that. Well, later on, she does question if he's a tiny dragon. So we'll just, Anyways, our book starts out with our female main character, Katerina, who is a witch who's currently stuck in a window mid robbery gone bad. She was sent on this mission by her mentor named Nemo to retrieve an artifact from a dragon's home.
I was just laughing at Nemo. Are we finding him?
No, we were Mulan, remember?
Oh, just keep swimming though. His name is
Just keep
Nemo.
swimming, just keep swimming,
I'm so-
swimming,
I
swimming.
promise. I promise I can't just. You know what? Sometimes Ariel is the problem. I need to be the problem sometimes, okay?
It's really bad usually if we're both the problem. So that happens occasionally too. You know. Nemo made it sound like his life was on the line and that he needed this desperately, which is the only reason why she agreed to do it. Katerina finally manages to wriggle herself free. Well, enough to fall into the room and out from the window. So she follows the plan and makes it to the room where the object is. She locates it, surprised at how ordinary it seems for how much Nemo seemed to need it. She's just about to open the case that it's being held in when she's caught. She's grabbed from behind and held by the neck, someone growling that it's awfully bold of her to try to steal from a dragon. He smells her and then pushes her down to the floor and asks how she made it past his wards. And now facing her captor, she realizes that she has been caught by the man himself, the man who is known by Kalos. Very old, very rich, very scary. Even now in his human form, he looks like a fallen angel glittered in black scales. And by the way, when I say old, I don't mean he's like wrinkly and, you know, gray. I mean that he's centuries old. He's one of the last dragons. He's literally lived
Not like a
forever.
grandpa.
No, he could be one if in theory, but he doesn't look like one. Think vampire, but like
Mm. Dragon.
dragon. Katerina admits to him that sometimes wards don't work around her, you know, when she walks through them. She's trying to figure out why she feels so weird, other than, being cornered and trapped, but she feels so drawn to him. And she's never had her body pulled in like that without being able to focus. She's also very aroused by this man and she doesn't know why that is either. She calls him out on it, asking, what he's doing to her. And he says it's merely a side effect. It's only a portion of what he's suffering with, a phantom pain from a previous life. Katerina wonders if this is her way out. She says clearly he's in pain. He likes her scent enough to have not killed or eaten her yet. She could help him in exchange for him letting her leave, with the item. She'll give him whatever he wants. She doesn't know about that yet. She'll give him whatever he wants, and needs to help him out with his pain for the night. And I just have to say, things escalated real fast
Well,
for this
she
book.
needs to help him out with his pain.
We just drove right in.
I bet he did.
And this is the third book in the series, like I said. I have read the other two. And the other two had build up prior to Wham Bam, Thank You, Ma'am. But I was just wondering, is this the direction we're going? Like, I'm not mad about it. I'm not sad, you know? But speaking of sad, we learned from Kalos's point of view that the reason for his ache is that he lost his mate a great long time ago. So without one, he's been in pain ever since with this need for another. And he tries to give her another chance to back out. And he opens his robe that he was wearing to show her that he has not one, but two dicks. Like as if that's supposed to scare her away.
It would scare away a weaker woman. But
Not
I
I.
myself am a strong woman.
I'm a survivor. I can't give up.
But
She does, though, stumble a little bit over this fact, and, stutters out that she's never, but, she'll do what she needs to do. Yes, girl. Yes,
it
you
would
would.
take me a second to like be like, oh shit. And then it would be like, okay, how is it gonna fit? To all right, let's do this.
I don't even know if I'd have that process. I'd be like, okay, try anything. Like that Shakira song, try everything. I don't think she meant it like that, but
No.
it could, He assures her that she won't have to do anything that she would object to. But this is her chance to run because it's clear that she's never been with a dragon before.
But what if I run and then also, is that okay too? And we run?
Listen, there's no primal in this book, unfortunately.
I'm not even usually being a primal person. I've read too many of those lately. I think I need therapy.
Nah. Katerina just starts to disrobe in defiance to show that she's not going anywhere. Kalos grabs her by the hair and kisses her, leading them down to the floor. He eats her out, and apparently he's got a fancy tongue that is quite long. Dragon tongue. Tell you. And then he flips her over and slams into her from behind, fucking her quickly until he comes, which shocks her for a second. But she asks if he feels better now. He says a little, but they've only just begun. That was the first release. It has healing properties, among other things. And she's definitely feeling them. She's more sensitive now and all the 9 yards. And so he just starts back up again. He uses his other cock this time, which apparently has ridges. And then we learn that apparently dragons in this world can compete with minotaurs in the bucket situation. So that's fun.
Gotta love the buckets of cum.
Like
She's basically just
oodles.
bathing in cum. That was
Seriously, she was
disgusting.
literally, but for
Sorry.
reals,
No.
she was like it was like a slip and slide. She was slipping around in it.
That sounds like an absolute sensory nightmare. Is a slip and
I'm
slide made of
actually
cum?
shocked they haven't made like some porno that is like a slip and slide of like pretend, you know. And this is why I'm not in charge of those things, because that's what I would be doing. And Crystal's Googling it now.
You didn't need to call me out like that, but I also forget sometimes that we're on camera and people can absolutely see the fact that I whipped out my phone. I will let you know. It probably exists. I'll Google it.
Solid.
I will fuck up my algorithm because Amazon already thinks I'm a dirty bitch.
It doesn't matter what I do. Kalos picks Katerina up and lays her onto a giant pillow. And, after he puts her hand at her opening to, hold all that in there and stop the deluge of spillage. Just found this so funny, and I don't know why. He tells her she can remove her hand when she's ready to have him again. So she removes her hand. Katerina gets a good look at his two dicks now because, he had come from behind before. And she checks them out, touching them, noticing that he has a knot. She brings his lower member to her, the one he had used first previously, the one with the knot, and he slides in and starts up again. He fucks her until he's ready to knot her, talking about how he needs to have her accept his knot for him to breed her. She's totally into this, you know, just this
Some
verbal
people really have a breeding kink.
talking game because she's got an amulet that is for birth control anyways. So it's all just arousing for her, just all this talk. Plus, they're not mates, so, all good. He knots her, calls her his, and bites her shoulder as they both come. When they come down from the high, he confesses that they'll be stuck together for probably about a half an hour. He's not exactly sure because it's been a long time since he's not someone. So hours later, it's clear that Cal's heat is finally subsiding. They've been like rabbits for these hours. He tells her once more, and then she can walk back out, bow-legged. So they do. And when they're done, he puts his robe back on. And as she's coming out of the haze, getting dressed again, she touches her neck and calls him out on biting her. Because a lot of paranormal creatures use biting to mate. And she says she guesses that that's not how dragons mate. She doesn't know a lot about dragons, so she was just kind of babbling. But he gives her a scathing look and asks why he would mate himself to a woman who would sell herself for a trinket. Someone foolish with no self-preservation, being mated to her would be a lower circle of hell. She can go now. Katerina manages to get the figurine to the drop-off location and texts Nemo that it's there, and she heads home and sleeps for most of the day. She's not feeling awesome. Like, she's feeling pretty good about the whole marathon situation, but then that whole leaving thing just left that bitter taste in her mouth, and now she's just sore and exhausted. She wakes up late in the afternoon feeling bruised and just ugh. She takes a shower and bundles up in some sweats because all of a sudden her place is freezing. She checks her phone and realizes that she accidentally forgot that she was supposed to have lunch with her best friend. And that friend has been texting and calling her for a while now. And suddenly there's a banging on her door and her best friend Stella's voice yelling to let her in. Katerina apologizes. Stella's not happy that Katerina got roped into something with Nemo again. Katerina assures her that it was a one-off thing, that he was crying, he was desperate. Stella says it's always one thing with him. Katerina now does art restoration work, but previously she had a past with stealing and forging and whatnot, but she's been on the right path for a while. She was raised in foster care and had a rough upbringing, and Stella and Katerina have bonded over this. Stella takes out the food that she had brought over while Katerina tells her about the night before. Stella is shocked that Katerina is alive after hearing the name Kalos. Katerina makes a comment again about feeling like crap, and Stella basically says that she's a witch. She should be able to figure out what's going on. Just listen to her body. She was dropped as an orphan when she was little, so she didn't actually learn that she's probably a witch until way later, so she didn't get trained like a witch. So she often needs to be explained these things.
Also, side note from research, cannot find anything where cum is used as water instead in a slip and slide, but
Huh.
there is plenty of porn that revolves around slip and slides.
Interesting.
Lots of them.
Interesting.
There's even one about, like, I don't know, a sex circus with a slip and slide. I don't know, but
Huh.
there's a lot of people having sex with slip and slides. Like, s- dude sits here and the chick runs and slides. There's a lot of that.
That sounds like it would hurt and be
I don't
dangerous.
know. I think from the thumbnail I saw, I think she slid face first into it.
Oh, well, still.
I don't know. Either way, sounds interesting, but probably maybe don't get like a running start. I don't know.
Yeah, I think
Dangerous.
I always think about a running start with the slip and slide.
I don't know. It was dangerous. Did not watch the video, but uh,
She
they
saved
do
it for later.
they do exist for the record, guys. Just have not found anything about cum instead of water. Again, sensory nightmare. I don't think I would. I don't know if I'd like that.
Anyways,
Anyways,
so Katarina listens and takes a moment to take stock of everything. And the only thing that's strange is this new fire sensation in her lower belly. And she's like, what the fuck? She really thinks on it. And then she realizes, and she just has this like pause. And she's like, that's not possible. And she's like holding her belly, and both her and Stella gasp. But she says she has an amulet. Like, no. Stella demands to see it. And then she asks if Nemo is the one who gave it to her. Katerina says, yeah, back when she was 18. Stella tells her that this is a cheap one that needs to be charged at least yearly, and he should have told her that because Katerina had no idea about any of this stuff. Like, come on. So she's been walking around with like a dud this whole time. Like, it's
yo,
probably good
that
that she was just using
sucks.
condoms and being with humans, you know?
Yo, I'd be so mad.
Yeah. Stella assures her that she has choices, but Katerina says no, that she's weirdly okay. She's scared, but she wants to keep it. She realizes, though, that this means that she's going to have to talk to Callus again. Stella tells her she can wait as long as she needs to do that. That it might be better to wait until they can prove that she's pregnant more. You know, it's only been a day. You never know what could happen. Dragons are pretty rare. Katerina only lasts a week before she's outside Callus's house, asking the guard at the gate to speak with him. Katerina is freezing. She's so bundled up. She's got hand warmers in her pocket. Her lips are turning blue. She's not doing well. Callus comes to the door and asks what the fuck she's doing there. She blurts out that she's pregnant, and he says, congratulations.
Oh,
She tells him that it's his, and he laughs. He doesn't believe her, says that that's impossible. Dragons only procreate under very specific circumstances, and that night was not one of them.
He
She
is
tells him,
a responsible fuckboy, okay?
well, dragons can only
No, I know.
procreate with, yeah.
I was just being a
Yeah.
smart ass.
She tells him she doesn't care if he thinks it's impossible or how it happened. She only knows that it did and something is wrong and she needs help. She's so worked up that her vision starts to get darker and she starts to sway until she goes down. Kalos catches her. He feels how ice cold she is and he takes off her jacket and his own suit jacket and pulls her to him. Now that he's not just snarling at her, he can feel that she is, in fact, telling the truth. Yeah, weird. When she wakes up, she's finally warm. Finally, it's been a week since she's been warm. Kalos explains how most of the time, or all of the times he's ever heard of dragon babies, are usually hatched from an egg, and they breathe fire on the egg to keep the egg warm. He's never heard of a witch or a non-dragon carrying a dragon baby. It's usually, if there's interspecies, it's always the other species because dragons are a rarity. So this dragon is basically absorbing any and all heat possible, but he is able to give her his heat to feed to the baby. Callus tells her that she will need to move in there because they don't know how often she'll need his assistance. Plus, she needs protection. He is very old, and dragons are a rarity, and people will come for her if they know about her. Katerina says that she has a job. She needs to work. He suggests she not take on any more work until at least after the first year of infancy. That as the mother, the safety and health are directly linked with the baby. So if anything were to happen to her, it would be bad. And she realizes that he thinks her job is being a thief. So she corrects him. Kalos has a meeting to get to, so he has his like bodyguard, right hand man, house dude, Ben, take Katerina back to her place to get her bags packed. When Kalos gets to the meeting, a meeting that has been on the books for longer than the week that it's been since he first caught Katerina, the men he's meeting with, the Leonids, who he's annoyed he has to meet with at all, are quite smug as they ask about the break-in he just had a week ago, which he's told no one about. So the only way they would know, like he literally just told Ben this morning as Katerina came there. So the only way they would know is if they had a hand in it. And sure enough, they did, because then they pull out the figurine, saying they did the duty of tracking it down for Kalos, because they know how important a dragon's hoard is and how much he will need to have this back. So they offer him a trade. They'll give it back to him in exchange for a Faygate. And the only way to equate what this means in their world is basically like an unguarded shipping dock that would be easy to traffic in and out of and smuggle in and out of. It's like, but way higher stakes. Yeah.
You're doing good, sweetie. I'm sorry.
Kalos tells them that he needs to think. In reality, he needs time to talk to the witches, whose figurine it truly was that he was holding on to for them, because there's no way he can give these people what they want. It would be bad for a lot of people. But he just needs time to figure things out. Later on, after Katerina gets back and settled, she took a nap. And once she woke up, she was hungry. So she went wandering to the kitchen and found Maggie cooking in it. Maggie is a fae and is Callus's housekeeper and chef. But she's also a healer. And Callus asked her to personally check out Katerina and the baby and help them if need be. Maggie does some sort of scan magically on Katerina and says things seem like they're going well. And Katerina is happy about that, and then she gets her a snack. At dinner that evening, Kalos goes over things with Katerina and makes sure that she knows not to leave the house unless it's with Ben teleporting her. And going over things about the pregnancy and all this stuff. And Katerina asks about that. You know, he said it was impossible. He says that a dragon can only breed with their mate, and he has already had a mate. She died, but a dragon gets one mate. He and Katerina are not mates. He will do his best to be there for her as the mother of his child, but don't look to him for anything else. Katerina feels hurt, of course. She loves the idea of having a fated mate. It doesn't matter who it is. She's never had people, never had a family. She goes to bed, her body cooling off again, but her stubbornness winning out that she doesn't want to see Kalos. She wakes up, though, in the middle of the night shivering to him coming into her room. He must have sensed how cold she was. He apologizes for hurting her and lays down with her to warm her up. We fast forward a month later, and Kalos has been coming in the evenings to warm her, but other than that, Katerina has not seen him. She's been able to set up a workspace so she can work from the house, and Stella has even been able to visit with Ben's help. Stella and Katerina are outside attempting yoga, which Stella is not a fan of, but thinks it would be good for the pregnancy, and she's trying to be a good friend and be supportive, but is having a real hard time when a stray cat wanders into the tree line of the property and just walks right up to Katerina. She decides that she wants to keep him and she names him Griffin. The cat really doesn't have much to do with this story, but I'm just
Honestly, though, that
interjecting him because he's cute.
fair.
And it was kind of a big moment for her because somebody just came and chose her. Like the cat just walked up and chose her.
Choose me.
Maggie rechecks Katerina and finds that the baby hasn't really grown much in the last month, and that concerns her. She knows that dragons, that if they're eggs and they don't get enough heat, they can go dormant even for years, but that would not be good inside a body. And Maggie suggests that Katerina increase her spicy food intake and have Kalos provide more hours of heat per day, and she'll check back to see if that's working. Kalos agrees and says that dragons require long amounts of time in their parents' fire and assures Katerina that all will be well. They both find that Kalos holding her while she's awake is a little more awkward than while she's asleep, though. It's. They end up talking about her background and how she stumbled into thievery and whatnot as a late teen. She was just trying to find her place, because she was dumped into a human orphanage and she could never find the right fit. And when she met someone who was a paranormal, she latched on. It, you know, and
I understand the latching on, Ariel. I latched onto you, and now we're stuck forever.
Maggie brings in dinner and tells Katerina that she could already see a difference. So that's good. Weeks go by and they develop a pattern where they're adding 2 extra cuddle sessions each day in addition to while they're sleeping. And they get to know each other more, and we learn that Katerina does art restoration as a way for her to repent and try to offset her guilt over thieving and forgery from her early days.
Honestly, art restoration is so interesting to me. Like, have you ever watched some of those videos when they
Yeah.
restore art? Do you want to know what kind of restoration I've been on TikTok lately?
What?
Nail polish.
Interesting.
There's a lady who revives nail polishes from like different decades. Like she's got like a 1930s nail polish. It's amazing.
Interesting.
And she just restores it and shows like the process of restoring it and painting it. And she collects them and it is amazing. And also some of her comments are really funny. But I sat there yesterday for about 30 minutes watching all of these videos and just scrolling
All my
while her show.
TikTok is mountains and national parks.
Mine is mountains, national parks, James Charles being a shitbag, but that's normal. And then nail polish restoration. I don't know.
No idea what's going on right now.
Neither do I. I never do.
But she got so into all this stuff because she was pleasing Nemo and whatnot until she got an up close personal look at not Finding Nemo, pleasing Nemo, until she got an up close personal look at
Not
what
better, because every time you say Nemo, that's all I think of is the movie. So pleasing Nemo sounds like a really bad porn.
we're not going down that route again. Crystal's not Googling that. She learned in her face what the consequences are of her stealing and forgery, and she, saw someone's devastation by it, and she had to quit cold turkey, which really irritated Nemo and pissed him off. But she spent the rest of her time, even until now, trying to make up for that. And Kalos tells her that she should be doing something she's passionate about. Like, she's done enough. She doesn't have to spend her entire life trying to get over the guilt of that. She should be making her own art because she's constantly sketching, and she should let the guilt go and not even knowing what his is, like his guilt is. She calls him out on doing the same thing because it's clear he has a lot of pain and guilt built up from many centuries of time. We're assuming at this point it has to do with his mate that he had, but Kalos actually takes that pretty well of her calling him out on it. Kalos has been having people look into the Leonids and is trying to find out more information so he can either offer them something different to get the item back, and by offer, basically blackmail, kind of like, because he cannot give them the portal that they are trying to get. They're bad news guys, or figure out a way to take them down in a different way. Again, bad news.
Bad news
And
bears.
bad news bears.
Sorry.
And in the research, they find out that the lead guy had another child, not just the heir they brought to the meeting, a daughter, an older daughter, a witch. And they find out that it's Stella. And Kalos goes ballistic. Stella is in the garden with Katerina. Ben portals in as fast as he can to warn them, angry dragon coming. And they're all confused until Kalos basically hulked out, blasts into the garden. Katerina tells Ben to take Stella out of there because there's obviously no reasoning with him. She tried. Katerina goes up to Kalos. The heat is slamming into her, just radiating off of him. But it's okay because the baby is like devouring it. And he hisses out that she will not put herself in danger. But the amount of energy and heat radiating off of him is just so intense and making her feel a little too tingly towards him. And she can't help herself but to gasp out that she needs him, and he pulls her to him and kisses her, fangs and all. She grinds herself against him until they both come in their pants.
Okay.
But Kalos finally starts to breathe and comes down and tells her to never get in the way of an angry dragon. She says, then don't roar at her friends. And he picks her up and carries her to his office. And she asks what he was talking about, why she was calling Stella a Leonid. And he explains about the situation, connecting all the dots. And she tells him about Stella's history, which basically Stella has her own book, but I'll give you a little bit. So basically, Stella's mom was arranged to mate with the leader of a shifter pack because most of the time witches will naturally have the baby that is the other form if it's an interspecies mating, and he needed a shifter heir. So they got the mom pregnant and then had the baby and then tossed the mom aside. But when the baby, came of age and whatnot, the baby was not a shifter. The baby, weirdly enough, was a witch, so they got rid of the baby too. Gave her back to the mom, or tried to. She ended up bouncing around places. It was a whole thing. So, yeah. Kalos calmly tells her that he would like to still talk to Stella to see if she could give him any helpful information. Katerina agrees now that he's asking calmly, like a normal human, like a normal person, He's not a human. And he just shrugs and says that she calms his dragon. And then he notices her stomach, which had only been barely curved this morning and now is swollen, having the baby greedily taken up all that heat. She basically like grew 3 months worth of pregnancy in one afternoon. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I would be mad.
Yes and no. Kalos holds her for a bit until he notices the cat. He walks by and he's like, what's that? The cat that she's been trying to hide from him? Yeah. Katerina falls asleep in his lap with the cat curled up on hers until the door bursts open and a man walks through, clearly startled to see someone on his lap. The man is Gage. We don't know a ton about him except that he is Kalos's godson. Kalos asked him to come over so he could tell him about the baby, but seeing it like that was a little more shocking, and he left because he needs to go process. So they all go their separate ways to process. Katerina wakes up in the middle of the night, her body on fire. Their little incident the day prior staved off a little bit of the hunger, but now it's back ferociously. She presses against him to try to get him to alleviate her hunger, but he tells her nothing has changed but her hunger. She says she knows that he doesn't want anything real or permanent, but she can do just sex. Don't make her beg. She previously said that she couldn't because she can't, separate the two. But now she's saying, I can, I swear. She knows that it's not true. She knows she can't separate. She knows she's signing herself up for heartbreak. But the way she feels right now, she just needs him. He kisses her and fingers her, literally tearing her clothes off of her, and then he fucks her with his ribbed cock, and then he fucks her with his other cock so he can knot her. Yeah, gotta love, gotta love that. Over the next few days or so, Katerina is really feeling the hormone part of her pregnancy, but Kalos does a good job of trying to help her through it. Gage does return and finds Katerina doing her last restoration job for now. She's just too hormonal and whatnot to work anymore, and she's going to be stepping back, trying to do what Kalos suggested. He apologizes for their very brief meeting previously, and she asks about Gage and Callus's relationship. Gage tells her he was left as an egg after his parents were wiped out, and Callus sort of took him in as well as others in the community helping. But he was the dragon, so he and his fires helped him hatch. Though he has a very distant relationship with Callus versus the relationship he wants. He wants more of a fatherly one because Callus had a very hard time because Gage reminded him too much of his son that he lost. Apparently, when his mate died, their son was young enough that he still had that baby bond between them, and the son died too. So he lost them both. Katerina had a feeling something like that happened by the way he responds to everything, but it's still a lot hearing it. Gage also lets it slip out that Katerina's having a girl because he's a dragon and he can sense it. And when Kalos finds them, he's upset that Katerina's upset. But Katerina just says that she needs a minute. The boys talk. Gage telling Kalos that he should have been the one to tell her. Kalos says he knows and that he's worried because he can't bond, and he'll be forever separate from Katerina and the baby. His dragon feels like he's mated to her, but he knows that he cannot bond to her. Gage tries to tell him that there are people who specialize in bonds and who could help him. Maybe he could see the matchmaker at the bathhouse. So this whole series kind of revolves around the bathhouse, and there's this woman, Rose, who runs the bathhouse, and she's kind of this like matchmaker, and the bathhouse, any kind of favor you do there, or instead of paying to go to the bathhouse, you pay in sex. Because by having sex at the establishment, this woman can use that power for things.
So this does not bring honor to them all.
No.
This is not the matchmaker from Mulan.
No, but there is a dragon and there is a matchmaker. She does not say
And a bathtub.
Fa Mulan.
Do men want girls with good taste who are calm and obedient?
No.
Who work fast paced with good breeding? I mean,
Good breeding, yes.
yeah, how about a tiny waist?
I don't know if that matters.
Mm. Well, she does not bring honor to them all.
No. Callus agrees, surprising Gage, to try. Katerina wakes up in the middle of the night to her stomach growling, and Callus brings them into the kitchen and makes her something to eat. He tells her that she can ask him the questions if she has any. She asks him to tell her about his son. He tells her that his name was Luke and that his mate Ava and he had been fighting. It wasn't the perfect mating. It was like any relationship, and they fought a lot in the early days of them having a baby and her having to stay home. She was very independent, and she needed space and went off to take a flight and get some space. He stayed with their son, and on that flight is when she fell. He probably only survived himself because he focused on trying to save Luke. But Luke's light still eventually went out, and he thought that his would follow, but it didn't. Katerina wipes away tears as Kalos feeds her, and she thanks him for telling her the story and for feeding her. He decides to be honest with her and tells her that his dragon believes he mated with her, and whether it's legit or not, he feels it. So that night that they met, that's how she was able to get pregnant. He tells her it shouldn't have been possible, that his dragon shouldn't have been able to split from him like that. But because he does not feel that way, like he doesn't have that same bond. But after so many years and so much drama, he says that a part of him broke when Ava fell. So there can't be a mating between them. He asks if she'd be willing to stay there after the baby is born, knowing all of this, and she asks to think about it. Callus does end up taking Katerina to the bathhouse. They soak in the tub, and she's happy to finally be in a tub that doesn't go cold immediately because the baby is just sucking the heat out of it. Callus fucks Katerina with both his cocks at the same time, one in each hole, and she feels so connected to him. She doesn't care that they can't have a specific bond. She wants him anyways. After they finish, he tells her to give him some time, that he just needs some time to try to find the answers she's looking for. And Katerina rests, feeling sated, so Kalos goes to talk to Rose, the soul witch who owns the bathhouse. She scans him and tells him that his previous bonds were left to wither, and he wonders if he would have to sever them to even try to mate again. She says no, that he just has closed off that part of his soul. And when people ignore parts of themselves, those parts don't stay healthy. He's separated too much from his beast. She thinks that he could, in fact, form another mate bond in time, but it would take some time and it won't happen by accident. That he needs to stop pushing his beast away and to stop rejecting him. He needs to be in alignment with his beast so he can start to awaken that part of himself and let it all go. It go. It takes some time, but he is open and honest with Katerina about it. He sits her down and explains all about it after he shows her her new studio he set up for her so that she can paint and create. And he explains that it might take some time, but they do have the ability of maybe being able to form a mate bond. And she asks if the studio is his way of trying to convince her to stay and wait him out. And he says not only that, because she deserves a place to create. She deserves a place to try her passions. She agrees to stay, and she also agrees to work on her art and be brave like he is. He shows her that he also picked this room for her because there's a secret passageway where he shows her it goes to his office and then down to the caverns beneath the house. He doesn't want to show her the caverns just yet because he fears that his dragon will think that that's the time to come out because that's where he usually goes to take a portal to free his dragon. And he doesn't want to leave her in her condition right now. So he wants her to wait for him to give her the tour when he can. He needs to go to a meeting anyways, and she says she'll paint while he does. There's even a little cat tower that he set up in the room so that the cat can chill out in there with her. She paints what she's been dreaming of lately, all sorts of just colors she can't explain. She doesn't know if it's just a funky dream or if it's something that her dreams are trying to tell her, because sometimes her dreams are prophetic, but she doesn't know until they happen. They're so vague, she just can't get a handle on them. It's one of her gifts. It's come about during these conversations with Kalos that it's possible that she's part Fae because her special gifts, her special which gifts are the possible gift of prophecy and being able to walk through wards, which are not witch gifts, which she wouldn't know. Again, she wasn't around witches, and she's not very good at that kind of thing. And so he's wondering if she's got a little bit of fae in her, or she's just a mixed. Not sure. When Kalos checks in on her after the meeting and sees the painting she's been working on, he recognizes that she's been painting dragonfire. And he tweaks out. He starts distancing himself from her, worried about having his dragon near her. He just gets all in his little man feelings again. While he's cooped up away at work yet again, she has had a lot of bad feelings. She left her go bag that she's always had at her apartment, but she kept her amulet on her. This special amulet allows her to, it's like a one-time portal use for like break glass in case of emergency danger. Like, shoop, gotta go. But she's been having this bad feeling that she's just like something's gonna happen, waiting for the other shoe to drop. And she is sick of waiting for him to show her the caverns because she can't portal to those caverns unless she sees them. And she knows that that would be a safe place, so she heads down to check it out. It wasn't a great idea though, because she ends up slipping while she's down there and gets these rocks kicked around, and she gets stuck under a pile of rubble and has to call him and let him know what happened. Yeah. Ben teleports Kalos in, and Kalos is mad. He's angry. He's so upset at what could have happened to her, and he's going off. And she just hits back with a response about how he doesn't control her. And it's so reminiscent of what Ava had said to him before she left on that day that she had died, that he just snaps and says, he can't do this. She says, we're already doing this. He says, he can't. He says, but his dragon mated her. And he says his dragon is a beast with the self-preservation of a gnat. And then he turns into his dragon form and he goes where there's a portal down in the cavern and launches himself through it. That's what we call man feelings.
Little tiny man. And yet females are, ew, I don't like that. Women are emotional. Did like calling us females, hated every single part of that.
Couple of days go by and Callus does not return. And the feeling that something bad is going to happen does not leave. In fact, it just gets worse. And Katerina starts keeping a new version of a go bag near her at all times, feeling like even if he does return, she's not going to be there when he gets back. And her fears are brought to life when she's woken up by an explosion rocking the house. She grabs her bag, holds her amulet, and sets off, portals to her apartment to get the things she needs. But something doesn't feel right. She turns around and finds Nemo sitting on her couch. Seems Nemo has been staying there while she's been staying with Kalos. And he knew exactly that she's been staying with the dragon. In his mind, she's been just staying in the lap of luxury and getting fat because he's been tracking her phone. He says that the Leonids need leverage. Why wouldn't he give them the dragon's girlfriend? She feels betrayed. She knew that she had to distance herself from Nemo, but this is just a slap in the face. How could he do this to her? She feels protective of her kid and instinctually just puts her hand to her stomach that had once been covered by baggy layers of clothing that she had been trying to keep warm, because Cal's not there. And he sees this and quickly grabs his phone. She begs him not to do it if he cared about her at all. He tells her he cared more about himself. At least he's honest about it.
I mean, sure.
Kinda. But he tells her he'll give her a 5-minute head start. She doesn't believe him, though. and she taps out a message to Ben on her phone saying that her phone's been tampered with and she'll come back when it's safe. She leaves the phone there, grabs her go bag and her extra portal charm, and portals out. It has taken 3 days, but Callus finally returns. This was the push he needed to finally stitch back together with his dragon. It may not have been the right route, but it was what he needed. However, once he returns, Ben is there immediately telling him that he's been gone for 3 days and that they don't have contact with Katerina. Ben tells him about the attack on the house. He also tells him that Stella is waiting for him. Callus meets with her and she gives him the item that was being held for leverage that was stolen from the beginning. Seems it was being held on Leonid land, and as they're shifters, only someone of their blood can pass into the land. So Stella went and retrieved it and brought it back as a big FU to them. Katerina has been hiding out in the bathhouse. That was not originally where she was planning to go. But that was the only place she could think of that would keep her and her baby warm because that's the only bath she's been able to be in that stays hot. And without Kalos, she needs to keep the baby hot. Rose allows her to stay and seek sanctuary there, and it's one of the safest places in the city. Plus, she's going to charge Kalos when this is all over out the nose. The Leonids call Kalos, claiming to have his mate hostage. They will exchange her for the Faygate. And he's saved by yet another man tantrum just in time when the word comes from the bathhouse that Katerina is safe there. He decides he needs to take out the Leonids and then he will collect his mate. But he can't just outright take them out, or the council will have his head. So he has to be strategic about it. Stella and Kalos form a plan. There's a formidable gargoyle, Stoneheart, that goes by the name of the Devil. If she were to mate with him, it could merge the families together and he could challenge for the territory and Kalos could aid him and strike on his behalf. So they all meet at the gates. Kalos, Ben, Stella, and Stoneheart the gargoyle. Leonid's men pull up, and of course they don't have Katerina. They say she's at their base. They offer Nemo's head instead to tide them over because she won't be released until after the job is done. Kalos tells them that he knows they don't have his mate. They tell Kalos that people aren't going to stop coming for this gate, and they order attack on the dragon. Charge! So Kalos turns into his dragon and he eats the leader, swiping at the rest of them, you know, with his tail and fire.
What was
It
that?
was
Raw.
the rest flee, and he takes down the gate itself so that it won't be a threat anymore. But it is so much magic that by the time he takes it down, everything goes black. Ben transports to the bathhouse and gets Katerina, who's feeling real glum that she let everyone know where she was, and Callus didn't even bother to come see her or show up or care. Ben yells to her that Callus needs her help and grabs her and portals her to the Fey Gate, where there is a dragon going berserk. Ben explains that after he destroyed the Fey Gate, the blowback must have sent him into a mindless beast, and no one can get his attention with all the heavy magic hanging in the air. And if anyone can calm him, it's her. She says, but she's not really his mate. The bond isn't complete. Ben says he knows it's risky, but she's the only one who has the possibility to walk through magic, and the dragon considers her his mate, so she's their best chance. She starts yelling at the dragon, calling him an asshole. Ben's like, that's not what I meant. But she says that this is how she can do this. She's angry. She keeps yelling at the dragon, yelling that he left her, that she needed him, that they needed him. The dragon does give her attention, and he goes closer and closer until his snout brushes against her stomach. And she just whispers, please come back. And she can feel the heavy fey magic and feel that it's trying to consume him. It's keeping him in this berserk state. And she tells him that he needs to fly. He needs to get out of there. But he's not listening to her. He's trying to nudge her away. And her body is growing so tired and weak because just fighting to get through all this magic just zapped everything out of her. Everything with this whole pregnancy just makes her so tired instantly. Using any kind of energy is just bleh. Never mind all of this magic. And she suddenly can't move through the magic anymore. And she just starts to scream until suddenly she's picked up and lifted into the air and carried away to the beat of wings. In the arms of When Katerina wakes up, she's back at the house being held by Callus in his human form. He tells her to keep still, that she used too much magic and energy, that he's trying to give her energy and to get her to rest. Katerina's worried about the baby, but he assures her that the baby dragon is strong, a little shaken up, but strong. That Maggie had checked her over while she was passed out. Katerina starts to cry. Callus says he's sorry. She says that's not enough. He left. She says she loves him and that it hurts. He's surprised by this. And I mean, a little excited, but also saddened. But saying that he hasn't broken things beyond repair, then that's, hopefully. But she should rest. They'll talk about this later. And when Katerina is fully awake and healed enough, Callus tells her that he loves her and that he wants to spend the rest of their lives together and asks if she will choose to be his mate. She asks if he's sure that he would choose her, not just his dragon, and he tells her he was wrong to say that before. He is his dragon. He didn't want to experience the pain of losing her and needed to come to terms with himself becoming whole again. And she says that she will be his mate, and they kiss. And then they DVP with just him by himself because he can do that because he's got two, you know. And as they come, he bites her neck and she bites his. And then we have an epilogue. Katerina's in labor, but she doesn't want to leave her studio. She's trying to finish her painting. Cal is frustrated because he can feel her through their bond. And he wants her to, go labor and be okay until he sees the painting. Katerina has painted their little girl as a toddler because she's dreamed of her. She looks like him, but with Katerina's green eyes, and she says she wanted to finish it so that it would make him feel better, knowing that she'll be okay. And after a very long labor, Evangeline is born, and they're a happy family. And that is our book.
Love. Sorry.
I skipped over, the Stella stuff, but
Honestly, it's okay.
because Stella gets her own book. So
Yeah. See? Love that for us.
I'm very interested in Stella's book because that'll be an interesting dynamic.
Yeah, and you're gonna definitely continue on the path. So I already know this. Anyways, who's your favorite character?
Possibly Katerina, but I think I liked Stella. I haven't read her book yet, so
Mm.
she just she had good friend vibes. And even in the end, when she because she spent the whole book wanting this true love and not to have an arranged marriage like the rest of her family and what was sent to her, and then she ended up just doing it anyways for her best friend. It was a whole thing.
Mm. Yeah, I mean that is a good. Would you do
And now
that for
she's gonna
me?
get a gargoyle and a demon out of the deal.
I mean, why not? Um, would I was gonna say, would you do that for me? And then I had
Proceeded
to
to
think about who
say
you are.
gargoyle and a demon.
I remembered who you are, and then I was like, nah, she would be
Those
like,
gargoyles have knots too.
oh boy. Um, I'm gonna say, I mean, I liked Stella because friend vibes. Um, I mean, I liked Cal. Honestly, it's the two dick thing. I think that's why I was gonna go with cows.
Yeah, solid.
Well, it would be pretty solid. Not as solid as the gargoyle. Sorry, I need to stop talking. How about your least favorite?
Nemo.
Bro, every time all I can think about is the fish. Yeah, he sucks actually, because he has so piss. Nope. Hate that man. Thing. We're done. Okay. So Amazon gives us a 4.4 and Goodreads a 4.1.
What did you
Which
rate it? Oop. What did you rate this?
I rated it a 3.5. How about you?
No
How's those
explanation,
you?
just 3.5.
Yeah, I don't know. I did love I love the double dicks. I don't know. Nah, 3.5. That's the instinct
Okay.
reaction right there. We're gonna stick with the instinct, even though normally I rate it higher, but
I gave it 4 stars. I enjoyed a lot of it. It had a little bit of that kind of will they, won't they kind of stuff, and the pissy dragon hissy fits. I definitely rated the gargoyle one higher.
hmm.
But yeah, I had a good time. What about your spice rating?
Oh. Um, well, I mean, two dicks automatically just like ups it a little bit because duh. Mm, sorry, I lost the
When you match a butt plug to her eyes, I just
uh
never
well,
mind the other stuff.
yeah.
I don't know.
Um, I am gonna
Oop.
go mm, Serrano. Serrano Cayenne, like in between, I think. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that sounds good to me. How about you?
I'm gonna say a cayenne because I very much glossed. So,
Well, yeah, but I mean, we can't
right,
sit here
right,
and explain everything to you.
right. Because there were other scenes too. So I just, yeah.
No, I know. Um, no, I'm still just gonna go between.
And when the thing that he did with the other tongue at the end, when he changed his face. Yeah. So I just
All right, you talked me into
no,
it.
no, this is my opinion. Because she's like, oh, that's the dragon tongue. Because before I was like, oh, dragon tongue, but no, oh, that's the
Oh,
dragon tongue.
dragon tongue.
Yeah.
Uh, all right.
And she was holding onto his horns. And it was
Bro, listen, throw I think that's why I enjoy a lot of the monster romances because there's just so much extra shit involved. You've got extra penises, you've got horns, you've got tongues that do weird shit, you've got knots, you've got a lot of other things. Sometimes you,
tails.
I was gonna say tails. Like
Dude, the
there's a
gargoyles use their tails because they
uh
don't want to use their claws because they want to be precious to their females. So they don't want to hurt them with their talons. So they
that
don't
gives that
they
reminds me
don't
of the
finger them
snakes
correctly. They use their knuckles and they use their tails.
that
And their
makes it
tails.
thicker.
Uh-huh. Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does. But full on tail.
Oh,
Uh-huh.
well, I like that one.
Uh-huh. I really liked that one.
Adds to list.
Speaking of, I do think that I would like to read Stella's book.
Hmm.
It is a gargoyle and a demon, if I'm reading the context clues
Yeah, it,
correctly.
it does say that it's both of them.
Because I
It
was
just
gonna
says
say,
that
if we're
it's
reading that
the book
correctly.
has two love interests and there will be no choosing between the love
Yeah, so I'm
interests.
assuming it's Ben and the devil. So do we want to read that for our spooky month?
Ooh, that
Because the
sounds fun.
devil?
Sounds good. Spooky month, add it. We're good.
Okay, solid,
Oh man,
solid.
it's just crazy. So we went from having a completely different vibe to monster fucking. Um, there is no such thing as a come and slide.
Slip and slide
With come, I already tried it.
romance. No, I'm looking up a
Oh.
book.
Oh.
There's a book called Slip and Slide Sluts.
Is that a book or a porn?
Dorm room double shots, beer pong, gang bang, slip and slide sluts.
So is that we still have yet to find. I'm also on a hunt to find a book that will put us into the Pepper X category. And I don't know
Yeah,
if we're gonna get there.
that should be everyone's homework. Find us a Pepper X book.
It's just porn.
Pepper X.
There's literally no plot. It's just porn.
Sugar and spice and
And
everything
everything
nice.
nice.
Anyways, so I would
These are the
survive
ingredients to create the naughty
the
little girls.
this
Nope.
would no this these are the ingredients
The
to create
sluttiest
an
bit.
an erotic romance. No, an erotic novella. All right. So I would survive just fine.
Oh my God, I would be in absolute heaven.
Let's find out what we're reading next week.
Okay, yeah, we got to do that, don't we? Let's find out and let's hope this time we'll read a book.
I mean, I read a book.
You know what I mean. Anyways, so let us see what we're reading next week as a book we're going to actually complete and not substitute, is what I meant. An asshole. All right. Are you ready? Ready? Let's
Yep.
spin it, motherfuckers. Whee! The Unwanted Marriage by Katharine Amara, which is book 3 in the Windsor series.
Ooh.
So this is also a request. Weird. 2 requests in a row.
Yeah.
Wild. But
We had a lot of requests on this wheel.
we had a lot of requests for the continuation of the Windsor series. So, yeah.
The Unwanted Marriage by Katharine Amara. Faye is the last woman Dion Windsor wants to be near, let alone marry. Yet there's no escaping the alluring pianist he has been engaged to since they were children. For years, he made his unwillingness known, but his attempts to keep Faye a distance fade to dust at the sight of her with another man, mere months before their wedding. One look at her and he realizes he's done running. Time's up. And whether she likes it or not, she's his. Or she could be if the secrets he keeps didn't hold the power to destroy her.
Yeah, so we're going to continue on the Windsor series, which will be interesting. Um, yeah. So, no dragons next week. Sorry, guys.
No. Sad face.
But Ariel's going to read about gargoyles.
We are going to read about gargoyles
Okay. We are.
for October. So
So,
yeah, make sure to check that next one out. And you can check out our previous episodes if you have not already done so on the Windsor series. And make sure to keep reading.
and keep it smutty. If anyone is wondering why I look like I'm about to rob somebody, Um,
You do? Oh, the hoodie? I mean, you have a hoodie sometimes, so I don't think anything of it.
oh, none of my hair is out because it is currently not in the state for anyone to look at it. I decided to take all the black out of my hair and I'm going for a colorful hair, and currently it is in a state of disarray and no one needs to see that.
Callus picks cat.
I thought you were gonna say Stella was dropped on her head as a baby.
I don't know if that's
I know,
a thing or not. Back to her place to get her bags packed, and then Callus gets to the meeting. Gets her bag packed. No, period. Okay. To get her bags packed. Period.
We cannot go down that road again, Ariel.
He's so upset at woulda, coulda, shoulda. And Stoneheart the Gorg. And Stoneheart the Gargoyle. That one. Oh, fuck.
Oh, fuck.